Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Couple of things actually. I think this is being of the older generation and hearing a lot of things and a lot of people's experiences, etc. If you could speak a little bit more about two things in particular. One is with regards to, they always say men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And you have covered some of this just now with regards to communication, in the way people communicate, the way men and women communicate. Could you touch a little bit more and get deeper into sexual intimacy when it comes to that? The difference between male and female, because it's very, very different.
Correct.
That's the first. The second one is with regards to communication per se, because there are many marriages that I have heard of where the marriage seems okay, it's not great, neither is it fantastic. It's not great, neither is it bad. But after many years, suddenly you have serious issues. Whatever it may be, some of the things that you might have mentioned just now, whether it's what was the
infidelity.
What was the word you used earlier?
Okay.
Cheating on the spouse and things like that. Or breakdown, kind of breakdown. Yeah, these two particular things, please. Thank you.
Okay, right. One of the things that happens, if you look at the physical aspect of the relationship, one of the things that every woman desires is to feel secure even in that environment. There is a tendency for most men, when they have satiated their desire, they turn their backs. Women like to be held, even for a minute or whatever, to feel secure. And that's a very, very important thing, a very, very critical thing. Now, the critical aspect on those levels is we need to understand each other on a deeper level. Now, sometimes it could be also that some of us have certain notions or understanding of these things. There are some people, for example, they say, if you grow up in an environment where everything is taboo, nothing is discussed, and you grow up, even the halal act, which is an ibadah, done properly, the ibadah, you find it repulsive. You find it repulsive. And that's perpetuated. You understand? So the whole thing is this. We must, as I said, from the very beginning, learn to communicate at different levels. You understand? To talk about it. To talk about the fact that, you know what, I feel happy. I'm happy. Jazakumullah. You understand? Because everyone wants to feel a sense of affirmation, right? And whilst the people speak about that we are from Mars, women are from Venus and whatnot, all of those stories, you find that even within that paradigm, there is a uniqueness. Unique. Everyone is different, right? Whilst, for example, many men, I think most men, are not expressive, do not know how to comfort. Some of them even feel uncomfortable to be too touchy about these things, who prefer to be manly and detached, do not know even how to show compassion and commiseration. You understand? Now, you got to understand, as I said at the beginning, why this is happening, right? Now, the psychological framework is a very, very important thing, because it is that that framework that impacts the way you see the world. It impacts on your feelings and your attitudes and your behaviors. Right? Now, as I said earlier on, all of us have the capacity to develop ourselves, to grow together in different ways. Now you find that, again, some of us, because of our uniqueness, like some men, for example, although I don't agree with this philosophy, how many of you read that book by Chapman about 5 love languages? Right? I read the book. I don't agree with it in its entirety. Because I don't think we are so mechanistic as individuals. You understand? Now, what I do know, that there are people, individuals, that whilst they may have a priority list, that I'm happiest when you do this, but I'm also happy when you do that. I'm also happy when you do this. It mustn't happen now that suddenly that you do things in a unidimensional way. And a human being is quite complex, right? Our attitudes and values are a result of how we've been brought up, what our experiences have been, right? So I think in the end, in anything in life, it is very, very critical that we need to speak to each other, right? As much as we can prior to the marriage without getting too personal, and to make a commitment that from day one you're going to discuss this particular issues. In terms of the trauma, right? Trauma of this is not something easy to handle. When there is infidelity, what it does to our sisters, which I can understand, it erodes their self-esteem. Really. It makes them feel very, very insecure. Then the question they often ask themselves is, for how long was this going on? And then that image of that woman is imprinted, almost indelible in your own mind. And you wonder, even if when the husband is remorseful, has sought Allah's forgiveness, and even when we are intimate again, is he thinking about her or not? Because Islamically, you know, you're not allowed to fantasize. You know that? When you're having a relationship with your spouse. Did you all know that? Right? So this is a very important thing. But I know one thing, that time is a healer. I also know one thing, that when people do these things, they must understand one fundamental thing. Men become very impatient when the wife will ask him, but why did you do this? I can't believe it. And he says, you know what, I told you I'm sorry, let us move on. Very easy to say that, my friend. Okay? Very easy. You've got to be very, very patient. Extremely patient. And you have an opportunity to walk on this new spiritual journey. A journey together to uplift yourself. Because Allah forbid that you go back, even though the husband is not unfaithful anymore, but your marriage is still in that one plateau. You've got to take it to another level. You understand? Therefore, they say the best way to ask for Allah's forgiveness is to replace your bad deed with good deeds. There was a young person went to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "O Prophet of Allah, I have sinned." Our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam never asked him, "What did you sin?" Yeah, he asked him, "Do you have a mother?" He said, "No." "You have an aunt?" He said, "Yes, look after her." You know what I'm saying? So, in other words, there has to be a radical change in behavior, attitudes, and values. Right? The important thing is this: as Muslims, as people of faith, we must do self-reflection. You've got to ask yourself, what kind of husband am I? What kind of wife am I? Right? Right? Is it a selfish thing? Do I ask my wife, how does she feel? How is she really feeling? And I can tell you, not that I'm a perfect husband, but I've learned. I learned a lot. From Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by reading, I learned a lot. For example, I remember in the earlier days, when I used to go on trips, you know, I never used to come back and spend time with my wife explaining to her the details of my trip. But nowadays I do that. And she feels a sense of connection. She feels connected. Then she knows, you know, this is what his life is all about. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm saying to you, each one of us, we need to re-establish the sunnah in its proper way. We need to understand it goes far beyond the physical aspect. It involves the emotional, the psychological and the spiritual aspect. You also need to know that you never strip your spouse of her dignity or of your dignity, right? The real question in life is this. We need to ask one fundamental question. One lady said the turning point in her life was when she stopped and she asked her husband, what is it that makes you happy? What is it that will make you happy? And remember something. Remember this. There's some things out of a person's control. That you must also accept. When I say out of control, I don't mean committing sins. You need to understand each particular context, all right?